let's compare the MicroKORG and the MicroKORG XL. Both are older offerings from Korg, both with 37 mini keys, 64 sounds in each bank for a total of 128. The MicroKORG has a really terrible keypad. The MicroKORG XL is slightly better. These are both mini keys, so go figure. On the back, you see that there's two audio ins for the MicroKORG and MIDI through. The MicroKORG XL has USB, but only in and out for MIDI, and only one in, so a little simplified there. I'm sure we're caring more about how these things sound. The MicroKORG is built off of the MS-2000, where the MicroKORG XL is based off the later coming Radius. So these virtual analog synthesizers are both showing similar layout with the controls using big knobs for one and big knobs and buttons for the other. They also both use the same sort of similar octave up and down mechanism, buttons for the MicroKORG and a switch for the XL. They both have vocoder and arpeggiator features. The big difference between these, I think, is that the MicroKORG has a whole bunch of selectors through two different knobs, where it makes a whole panoply of parameters that gets a little confusing, where it's very trimmed down on the XL, where there's really like 5 different ways to use the buttons and only 3 buttons to play with, and the lineup between the button and the parameter is far easier to read. So if you're trying to figure it out or get your bearings on the fly, it's way easier to use the XL. Now, as far as actual sounds go, I think they play so much in the same space, and the sounds can be tweaked to be virtually the same. I think the XL truly does sound better, and it has better polyphony, so there's a little bit more to offer there. I think the MicroKORG itself also suffers in that some of the sounds start out as arpeggiations and are really built to only be arpeggiations, where I think that isn't so much the case with the XL. And finally, there's 2 sets of sounds in the MicroKORG that are kind of unusable, which are the sound effects ones as well as the vocoder, which is just not that great, and I think we'll go into that shortly. The original MicroKORG holds up against the XL, like it really does hold its own. All right, so vocoders have a place in music, but I think they're kind of toy-like features. You can use them once in a while, but they're not that exciting, my opinion.
And this is playing,
but it's really just useless on the MicroKORG. I just don't ever find it really being that functional. On the XL, you can use it pretty well. It's actually not too challenging, but I just don't love it on MicroKORG.
Hello. Yeah. Hello everybody, do you like this sound I can make with my voice? Do you like this?
Now, both of these machines also have arpeggiators, and they are about as good as each other, I guess, except it's way easier to control, the one on the MicroKORG XL, and I do think that the notes of polyphony are better. There are, I think, one or two more options for the type of arpeggiation on the XL, and changing the tempo is a little bit more straightforward because there's a dedicated knob to tempo that always works as tempo, where that doesn't exist on the MicroKORG. So overall, I do think that the MicroKORG XL is slightly better. It is built off the Radius, and the Radius is just a better sounding machine. And I think that some of the controls are simplified. I like simple. You can tell that I'm easily confused. Sorry. And I don't want to have to be, swapping knobs every time. I just want to do some basic things. And looking up, what's pretty much an eye chart of parameters. So that is part of it. I also think that the MicroKORG XL is built a little bit better. Like the single piece plastic thing, it does kind of look cheesy. It looks like Igloo Cooler Company made it, but the cheap little wood sides on the MicroKORG and everything just kind of look dated. And I think I'm using an old one, so maybe that's the problem. But it just feels like the switches and everything on the XL are a little bit more well built, so that's important. And of course, that display is much nicer than the calculator display that's on the MicroKORG. So overall, I think the XL is a better option. I'm probably not going to sway people, and I hope it's a controversial answer, because the MicroKORG is still kicking today, and it's got like some upgraded versions that may be better. Maybe we'll compare them sometime if we find one. But until then, I'm going to leave you here. There's a few more minutes of audio if you just want to hear it. Let me know what you think, and do like and subscribe if you want to hear more content like this. Thanks.